What's up everyone? In this video I'm going to be talking about libraries. Libraries in Python, absolutely critical. They're so important. Libraries give us the ability to use other code. So for example, we don't have to write all the code that you'll ever use like by yourself, right? Instead of rewriting the wheel every time you make a new program, you can just use libraries that already have a lot of built-in functionality, and then you're kind of just working with the libraries to get to the point that you want to be. So this will make sense here in a second once I get into the code. So let's go ahead and copy this repo and do the clone from our terminal, and we'll open up this libraries folder in VS Code. And then let's do a new file. Let's call this libraries.py. And so now libraries, there's a couple of really common libraries that give us access to some really powerful code. So one good example of a library is the math library. So if we do import math like that, this is going to give us access to a lot of mathematic functions. So like if you were to imagine like a calculator, right? Some of those functions such as like square root and exponents, you can do them by hand, but it can be rather difficult, and it's a lot easier and faster to just use the library. So let's do an example here. So let's set x equals 25 and then print x. And then we'll do x equals math dot square root of x, and then we'll print x again. So what I'm expecting to see here is that we print 25 because here x is 25. Then we're going to take the square root of x, and then right here this should be 5 because the square root of 25 is 5. So if I open up a terminal and run this code, oops, libraries.py, and there we go. So we have 25 and 5. So as you can see, this is really easy. To write a square root function by hand, it would take a good bit of time. It's of course doable, but it'd take a good bit of time, and it's code that already exists. You know, it's the classic like don't reinvent the wheel. Just use the existing code that already works, and it'll save you a lot of time and a lot of frustrations. Another classic library that's used very frequently is it's called datetime. So if we import datetime, I'm going to go ahead and comment out this code here. Oops. So datetime, it it works to do a lot of the time operations. So for example, if you wanted to get your system time, so like the time on your PC, we could do that with datetime really easy by doing, for example, print datetime.datetime.now. And let's go ahead and run this, and you'll see that it just prints out the exact date time. So it's June 11th, 2023 at 1:55 p.m. It's so easy to do that. And to not use the datetime function, it would be rather difficult to be able to do that. And I was able to do this in 30 seconds using this library. So there's a couple more important ones that I just want to just mention. So there's import OS, and then there's also import time. OS is operating system, so that gives you access to some of your operating system's functions. And then there's also time, which time is useful for things like stopwatches, or if you want to sleep for a certain amount of time, that's what the time library is really useful for. And I'll probably show some more examples of these in further videos, and I'm sure I'll use a lot of libraries in future videos. But I just wanted to give you a brief introduction and show you just how much easier it is to use libraries. If you can use a library to do some kind of code, I highly recommend you use it. I do want to mention one more thing about the libraries. You may see this from time to time. So right here, how I have import datetime. The way that I access this is by using it by name, and the same with math, right? I just access it by name, and then I'd use the dot operator, and then I call some function within that library. So in the math one, I use square root. In datetime, there's actually a function called datetime, and then another one that's now. So you may see, rather than writing it like that, you could also write it like this. So from datetime, import datetime. And then I could do just datetime.now, and this would run the exact same. Um, it would be, it should just print the system time, like that. Um, and then the same with math. So since I'm using the square root function, I can just import that. So from math, import square root, and then this code should run the exact same, but I no longer need to use the math.square root because I've already defined square root, like so. So you may see it go, sometimes you'll import just the whole library and then access it through the library's name, and then sometimes you'll see it that you'll pull just specific functions from the libraries. Um, Once again, there's no one way to do it. You just may see it done either way. I wanted to take a moment to say thanks for watching. I will put the link to the GitHub repo shown in this video in the description, as well as a link to my Discord server if you have questions, comments, want to get in contact with me or other Python developers. It's a great resource to you. Once again, I want to say thanks for watching.